Good evening, candidates and voters. I'd like to start tonight off by standing and pledging allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good evening again. My name is Scott Hartman. I'm part of the leadership team of the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County. I am a past voter service coordinator. I'm filling in tonight for Grace Garrett, who was called away on a family emergency. Tonight, the League is co-sponsoring this forum with Truth Has a Voice Foundation, a Salida-based nonprofit organization with whom we share many of the same objectives. I'd like to thank the candidates who have come tonight, Adrian Kuhn and Aaron Stevens, vying for Ward 2 Council's seat, Jackie Berndt and incumbent Alyssa Pappenfort, who are running for Ward 3 Council, and treasurer candidates Ben Gilling and Wales Martin. Candidate Suzanne Fontana and Dan Chor are not here tonight. I'd also like to thank the League volunteers that we have here tonight, Mary Helen Dunn, who is going to be our timer, Doanne Houghton, and Mary Jo Bennett Small, who are our readers, and myself, who's also a reader. And also thank you very much to the audience for being here. Tonight's proceedings are going to be recorded, and they'll be available later on both the Arkansas Valley Voice website and the League of Women Voters website. And there are several, besides voting for the municipal positions, Salida voters are also going to be asked to vote on some another, at least one local issue. And if you would like, this sort of is a supplement to the blue book you get for state issues. This is put out by the League of Women Voters of Colorado, and it may explain some of the state issues a little better. And I also want to remind voters and candidates about vote41.org. Ahead of elections this fall, the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County offers the nonpartisan election resource, vote411.org. This one-stop shop for election information provides simple, helpful tools to help Colorado voters navigate the voting process. Vote 411 provides candidate information, a voter registration tool, and other helpful election information for all voters. The site, vote411.org, is scheduled to go live on Monday, October 9th. All of tonight's candidates have received an invitation to participate. And I've had verbal confirmation tonight that at least two of them will be getting back to me very soon. The League of Women Voters of Chaffee County is a nonpartisan organization encouraging informed and active participation of citizens in government and influencing public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. And I will now turn it over to Merrill for a little more.
Thanks, Scott. I'm Merrill Bergen. I'm the president of the Truth Has a Voice Foundation, which is a lot of words, and we'll explain. It's a nonprofit corporation organized under the laws of Colorado. It's registered in Colorado as a charity, and is fiscally sponsored by the Institute for Nonprofit News with over 400 media outlets nationwide. A primary mission of the Truth Has a Voice Foundation is to support quality, objective, fact-based journalism in the Upper Arkansas Valley. Towards that end, our digital media platform, the Ark Valley Voice, publishes original full-length content free to anyone 6 days a week and has done so for 5.5 years. In addition, we now post a weekly podcast summary of our top stories on KHAN Radio locally. The foundation seeks to nurture informative reporting and programming to provide educational opportunities in journalism and to work towards a better informed community through civil discourse and government accountability. A key part of the foundation's civic outreach is the forum you're watching tonight. It is part of an ongoing initiative to collaborate with like-minded organizations such as the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County. We look forward to more opportunities with our partners, especially during the upcoming election season this year and next year. Ark Valley Voice staff have won multiple awards from the Colorado Press Association. Just last weekend, our moderator tonight, Jan Wondra, managing editor and publisher, was given the top statewide honor of the Press Association's First Amendment Award, which you see displayed on the front table here, and all that for her many years of work advocating for the democratic process. I'm going to turn it over now to Jan. Thank you for participating in this most valuable civic exercise, our election process.
Thanks, Merrill, and welcome, everybody. Welcome to our candidates, and welcome to our audience, not just here in the room, but on Zoom and on the city's channel as well. Just so you know, a few things at the beginning of this. We're going to be breaking this forum down into segments. There'll be a group of questions from Ark Valley Voice. Then we'll take some questions from the public, the floor here, on which our co-sponsor in this, the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County, will be collecting those questions for us. We'll also be taking questions from online, from our Zoom audience that'll be coming from behind me. Michelle Pujol, who is our social media manager and advertising manager, wave Michelle, is going to be collecting those pieces of information and those questions as well. So tonight, this is a 2-hour forum. Any questions that we don't get to from the public on Zoom or from the public here, we will be collecting. They will be written down. They will be provided to the candidates, and we'll agree on a due date for you to be able to provide written responses, and we'll publish those so that all the public knows that those questions have been answered. Let's take just a minute on something. Our role as journalists is not to make the news, it's to report the news. We have a duty to get the facts straight, ask tough questions, and report them to you so that as informed people, you can make the voting decisions you believe are best for you, your families, in this place we all call home. The only profession written into the First Amendment of the Constitution is the First Amendment that protects several freedoms that are critical to democracy. The one that we're exercising tonight by asking you questions is the freedom of the press. There are 4 other freedoms included in the First Amendment, and I'm wondering if anybody here can call out to me what those freedoms are. Candidates or the public, do you know what the other 4 freedoms are? What was that? Freedom of religion. So we've got freedom of the press, freedom of religion.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, that's 3.
Freedom of assembly.
Freedom of assembly, and there's a 5th one. Anybody know it? It's the freedom to petition our government for grievances. So there are 5 freedoms protected in that, and we pay a lot of attention to that at Ark Valley Voice. Journalists have been harassed, threatened, and even killed, not just around the world, but yesterday in Philadelphia, for reporting on the news. So it's a great honor to be here with you tonight, where no one's pointing at me other than raising your hand for about questions, to be able to cover this with you tonight. Let's get into the forum itself. We're going to ask the questions in a different order for each question, so nobody ends up first or in the middle or last, so that you all take turns on doing that. I'll be telling you how long you each get to answer, if it's a 1-minute question or a 2-minute question. And our timer, raise your hand, timer, will be tracking that time, and she'll give you a warning. For a 2-minute question, she'll give you a 30-second warning, and for a 1-minute answer, she'll give you a 15-second warning, and she'll hold up her cards like this, so you'll know what to expect. Let's, by way of introduction, start with this question. And Aaron, I'm going to start with you in the middle and go out this way and come back. So Alyssa, you'll be the last one to answer the question. So that people get to know you a little bit more as an individual, we'd like you to introduce yourself and your experience for the role you seek. Tell the public, where do you get your news? What's the most important aspect that voters should know about you, and what that has to do with the role you're seeking to occupy, and what that would have to do with the quality of life, safety, and economic future of Salida residents. And this is a 2-minute answer, and Aaron, we'll start with you.
All right, my name's Aaron Stevens. I've lived here for about 25 years. Came here, I've worked, from tourism all the way up to the construction phases. I feel like the length of time that I've lived here, I've watched a lot of change and a lot of growth in good and bad ways. I feel like that puts me in a good standing in this role as city council. I've always wanted to kind of reach out and start trying to, insert myself into the city more than what I've been doing lately. But so I think this is a great way to do that. So I'm kind of jumping in, kind of head first here. But I get my news, through a lot of word of mouth. I'm around town a lot. I pick it up through friends and people on the street. I read the Mountain Mail, of course, which is good way to get some of the news out there. The radio, I drive around a lot. I own a dirt business here in town. I work for myself now, so I drive around in a dump truck all day long, listen to the radio. So I listen to the radio quite a bit. So that's where I get a lot of my news. And I'm sorry, what have I not covered there in that question? That was kind of
Let me go back. And what the voters should know about you that has to do with the role you seek and the quality of life that you're hoping to help ensure for the residents of this community.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I've been here for 25 years. I've watched where it was and where it is now. I think we're on a great path. There's definitely a lot of work to be done. I have 2 young children, a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. So quality of life here is very important to me. I want to raise my children in this community. I want to raise them to take advantage of the quality of life that we have here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Jackie?
My name is Jackie Burnt, and I am a native of Salida. I was born at the Railroad Hospital, which is now this building that we're doing a lot of different meetings and house a lot of government offices and that type of stuff. I am a retired paramedic. I have been a paramedic for over 20 years before I retired, and also fell into the role as an instructor for not only EMTs and paramedics, but firefighters, and did a lot of traveling with wildland and those type of adventures. But I've always called Salida my home. And fortunately, there has been a lot of change in Salida. Some of it, like Aaron said, some good, some not so good. But we have young people that are moving in and need to be able to afford to live in our area, as well as taking care of the folks, the older folks that have been here for years and kept up the area. So my goal for the position that I'm in is not only to endorse the growth, but to save some of the future or the history that we've had, so we don't run out of future. My husband is Ken Burnt, and he is a retired heating and metal person. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that know him. My son is a paramedic instructor in Alaska, and my daughter is a deputy with Chaffee County Sheriff's Office. And I listen to all the newses, as well as reading all the different newses.
Thanks, Jackie. Good timing. Adrian?
Hi, I'm Adrienne Kuhn. I'm kind of thinking about, can you read the question again? It was kind of a 2-part question.
Yes, it is. What's the most important aspect that voters should know about you, and what has that got to do with the role you seek with the quality of life, safety, and economic future of Salida residents that you hope to help secure? And by the way, start with, where do you get your news?
All right, well, I'll start with where I get my news. So just kind of throughout my day, I'd say I start off by listening to the news. I listen to KRCC pretty regularly in the morning, and that's a great place that I get my news. I subscribe to the Mountain Mail, and I get that. I see stories from Ark Valley Voice that you guys do. My husband reads the New York Times, and he'll send me articles, so I don't tend to go through that one as much, but I'll see what interests him. I don't have a TV, so I don't tend to watch TV news so much, but I get a lot of people will send me emails of things going on. I always check out those emails of news stories. I think just kind of all over the place, except for much TV news, honestly. And then who I am and what I kind of do here. So I own a business right in downtown. It's a retail store. So I've had that for a while now. I've got employees. I've really built that business to be a pretty successful business here in town. It's a Little Red Tricycle, which has taught me a lot in having employees and working with both high schoolers and teaching them how to have a job, and working with other people in working with their schedule so that they're able to have jobs that work for them and their time schedule. A lot of you might know me because I ran for commissioner last year, and that was just such a great experience. It was kind of timing. And what I got feedback was a lot of people really liked what I had to say. They wanted to see me do a little bit more, and City Council is a great place to start with that. But I'm also on different boards. I'm in Rotary. I helped with the Bluegrass and with 4th of July. I was part of SBA when that was going. I was the treasurer for Art Walk. I help out, do a lot of different stuff in town and involved when I see something going on. I'm happy to come to meetings, and I've met Elisa through that and advocating for different activities and things going on.
Thanks, Adrian. Wales is next, and she is running for treasurer.
Hi, folks. My name is Wales Martin, and I am running for treasurer. So for the news, I do locally read our Mountain Mail news as well as Ark Valley Voice. I also use an app called Smart News. I would highly recommend that. It gives a lot of different aspects for local news as well as national news. For national news, I like to keep my mind open, so I do have both Fox News and CNN apps on my phone, as well as NPR. So why I am running for treasurer, I believe that I am qualified for this position because of my experience with budgeting. That was seen when I was a YMCA director, and I was allocating funds to different departments and really prioritizing which projects need to be worked on next. However, the role of the treasurer is not just budgeting. That is more left to the finance committee and the city council. The treasurer is going to be more of a liaison between the two. I have great communication skills, and that's through my experience of teaching. When I was a teacher, I had to communicate not only to my students, who were clearly going to be at a level below me, but I also had to communicate to the parents who were in who were in ways that were indifferent than mine, and they were very concerned about their students' well-being, and having to communicate to them clearly and effectively, as well as communicating to my principal and the vice principals, all the administration. And more importantly, I had to act as a team member. I was a team member of not only the teachers who were working together, but also a team member with my students, making sure that they had a voice and that they felt heard within our community as a classroom, and that they felt heard from me especially. Thank you.
Thanks, Wales. We're going to swing to the other end of the dais and listen to Ben.
Thank you, Jan. My name is Ben Gilling, and I'm running for Salida City Treasurer. News sources, much like my opponent, I leverage the Ark Valley Voice and the Mountain Mail for local news. And then nationally, I do mostly online sources. Yahoo would be one of the sources that I touch, but I touch multiple sources nationally. I do not really draw anything from television. My history, I grew up in Kansas City, came to Colorado in 1993, which was a realization of my dream to live in the Centennial State. And then I landed in Salida in 2017, where I worked hard to get involved in the community. I joined Rotary, and I volunteered for multiple activities like Bluegrass on the Arkansas and also the 4th of July celebrations over the years. Most important thing about me, in the role, when you talk about the city of Salida, a city that has a $74.3 million budget and over 100 employees, you need somebody with experience to provide oversight on a city like ours. The Salida, or the treasurer's role provides financial oversight for the taxpayers and also chairs the finance committee here in town. I bring over 30 years of experience in complex organizations, along with a business degree. Additionally, I've overseen budgets, managed working groups, and led committees. These skills directly apply to the role of treasurer, which is why I'm asking the citizens for their vote, because I bring experience you can trust. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Alyssa, your turn.
My name is Elisa Pappenfort. I'm currently on City Council. Previously, I've been the city clerk. In fact, I was the last elected city clerk before it became a staff position, and I was city treasurer. And so I hope to serve again because I feel like I know what I'm doing now. It's a lot more complicated than people think, and certainly the time when you're ready to leave the office is probably when you're best suited to be there. I get some different news sources. Good Morning America, because my partner really loves TV, so there's some TV in there. There's KRCC, there's KHEN, there's the Mountain Mail, the Ark Valley Voice, the New York Times, although I don't have much time for that. And then there's a show, I can't recall the name of it, but it's a media watch show, and it is literally my favorite show because it tries to hold the media accountable. Why are they saying it like this? Why aren't they reporting on this? Why don't they just say the facts, call them a liar, whatever it may be. And so it is absolutely my favorite one. I've been in Salida basically since '76. I've raised 2 generations of children here, 3 if you want to throw in the stepchildren. So I'm passionate about young people. I want them to be able to make it in the world, and it's extremely hard to get your feet on the ground these days. That's why we need help with affordable housing. That's why we need a memory care unit. We need a lot of help. We may come into the world alone, but there's a lot that goes on before we get here, and it's the same through our entire life. We need a lot of help. We all benefit from the commons, and we all have to participate to make things work. I think that was the main thing I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Appreciate it. Since you've raised a few of the other topics that are issues of interest in the community, we wanted to let you know that to prepare for tonight, we talked with a few representatives of some of the organizations important to this city, and we conducted a reader poll asking residents to tell us what issues they wanted to hear from you on. So, in that poll, there were 9 issues presented. We'd like to start with Jackie for this one. This is a 1-minute response. Tell us of the 9 issues presented in that poll, which one is most important to you and why? And Jackie, we'll start with you.
Well, I think affordable housing is a major issue. But along with affordable housing, we have to have infrastructure also, and be able to have our citizens able to use the infrastructure that we have, and what we are adding to it. And so I think affordable housing is important, but also the growth of the other infrastructures that go along with affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. Adrian, what do you think about those issues and which one's most important?
Which were the 9 issues? I didn't get that.
The 9 issues were in the survey on Ark Valley Voice.
I did not see that.
Yeah, we didn't see that. Could you just tell us what the 9 issues were?
I guess you're not able to answer the question.
Well, we can make it up ourselves. That's what we're doing so far.
I mean,
Adrian?
I don't know what I feel like that's a funny little gotcha question if you're not going to tell us what you didn't email what those were, and I have not.
They're actually available to the public on our site.
I don't
have
visit
been
your site every
for
day.
2 weeks.
I don't visit your site every day. I look at some of the articles. I don't
Okay. Wales, have you got any thoughts on that? Anybody?
On the,
On the question?
On the question.
I kind of agree with Jackie with her workforce and affordable housing through workforce housing. You know, I think that City of Salida is moving forward in the right direction, you know, with some of the projects that are out there right now with Jane's Place and the new D and First, construction that's going to be going on there, and then also out in the South Arkansas, projects and stuff like that are great steps moving forward, So, and also coming back to that, the short-term rental, agreement that we have here in town is also very important. I think the role of that is a big role. The taxable income that comes from that is going to help with affordable income and workforce housing. So I agree that those two things are top of the list that came out.
Thank you, Aaron. Ben, you raised your hand. Did you?
Sure, yeah, I can respond, Jan. Obviously workforce housing is one of the items that was discussed, and it is critical, not only to make sure that our service industry is taken care of, but also to make sure that our city services continue. And in alignment with that, I would talk about another one that was on the poll, which was the city downtown security concerns. We've seen our crime rates increase in Salida over the last 3 years. Unfortunately, our law enforcement, specifically our police force, is not compensated at a level comparable to other mountain towns. I think that's something we should look at addressing. And then the other issue that I would talk about would be quality child care resources. Obviously, there's been some occurrences that have really impacted the ability for child care in our community. And it'd be good to see the city partner with the county to help out on that. And I would add to that one thing that Elisa said, over 27% of the population in Chaffee County is over 65, so we need to be doing things to take care of our seniors.
Thank you. Ben, Alyssa, did you have anything to?
Yeah, I think housing remains the number one issue in the front of people's minds. And it's a big deal. We've got 160 affordable units either that have come online or in the pipeline, but we needed 700, and that need is continuing to grow. I agree with Jackie's point about infrastructure. The city was broke for a very long time, and people who are new to the community have no idea how awful that was, how we could not maintain streets, we could not take care of our infrastructure. And we're in a much better condition to do that now, and we need to repair things, keep them up to speed. We have regulations come down from the state on things that we must do, particularly with the water system I've got in mind. And so it's like, surprise, you're going to get to spend a whole lot of money on this issue. Child care, a big deal for families who have little children. I brought my child care provider with me when I got here in '76, or I wouldn't have made it. Thank you.
Good timing. Thank you very much.
I would like to answer the question still.
Okay.
If that's okay. All right. So I believe that affordable housing is, echoing everyone, the biggest issue that we do have here in town. As somebody who does work for the workforce, I work at Sweeties. I know firsthand the struggle it is to get housing here. I've been working my tail off with the Chaffee Housing Trust in order to buy a house here. And I did sign a contract on Friday, so I'm under contract. Yeah. However, that is not the only solution that we can look for. I know that short-term rentals is one that we've been looking into and has been passed. It's been in effect for a few months now, and we are starting to see some backlash as a city. However, this is one way and one avenue that we are looking at. I believe that there needs to be some transparency about where the funds are going. If we are going to be putting them towards D and First, that community that's being built, let's look at the numbers. Let's see if that's going to be happening. Transparency, I think, is really important for that in this affordable housing crisis that we find ourselves in.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Wales. Appreciate that. As a matter of fact, the next question is about Salida workforce housing, and Adrian, you'll be the first one answering this question. Not only the city's municipal goals, but the county's comprehensive plan says that we have a shared goal as a community to be a good place to live and work and play, but for all of us, not just some of us. There was a 2022 housing needs assessment that was adopted by the Chaffee Housing Authority to stabilize our workforce and keep up with future housing demands. And it says that over the next 5 years, we need more than 1,100 new homes built. And then that might have been gone up just since we got that assessment. What strategies or policies do you support, each one of you support, and what specific interventions would you support to speed up the city's actions to address the workforce housing crisis? And Adrian, we'll start with you. This is a 2-minute question. Wales, feel free to add to your thoughts that you've already expressed on housing. Thanks, Adrian.
I think housing just has to be a multi-prong effect because there's all different reasons people need housing, whether it's aging in place, and aging in place meaning also, and I see with my employees, making sure that people can continue to work at a part-time basis. I think that keeps people moving and motivated, but oftentimes they still need help taking care of their house, and there's some wonderful programs that do that. I think workforce housing and finding ways to do those in the different areas is also important. I think we're on track for doing that. I think finding ways to work with people, finding creative solutions, whether that be in looking at basic variances. I know there's a project going on looking at studio 1-bedrooms and asking for some variances so that they can maximize their space. I think that's a good idea to do as long as those variances don't go too far. I think we need to be careful with that as well. I think making sure that the people that are working for the city, the people that we can have a direct influence on, like the police, for example, making sure that they're paid well enough to be able to afford housing is also a good step towards that and can make immediate changes so that they're able to stay here and stay in their houses. Making sure that we do balance between short-term rentals and what those people need. And I know there's been at the meeting last night that I don't know, it was last night, whether that was the first half or the second half, that there was a lot of talk about, what we're doing with those fees and how we can balance making sure that we provide that tourists want to come in because they spend their money here and that does provide jobs as we are somewhat of a tourist economy in many aspects. But we need to make sure that that the people working here have a place to live. So I think just looking and being creative with solutions and finding balance through it is what we can do.
Thanks, Adrian. Wales?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What strategies or policies do you support, and what specific interventions would you just support to speed up the city's actions to address the workforce housing crisis?
So I am in very much support of the Chaffee Housing Trust as well as the Chaffee Housing Authority. Those are two programs that are actively looking to provide affordable housing to those who are seeking it. I will say that it is a long process. Again, I know that firsthand, but it is definitely worth the wait. And if you're able to stay in Salida for the maybe year and a half it might take for you to get the house, then I fully support it. I also know that bringing in revenue is one way that we will be able to provide more affordable housing. What we're looking at now with the short-term rental tax is one of the solutions that we have had. It is not going to be the only solution. There will be more that can be discussed with council. And again, as city treasurer, my role is to communicate between the finance committee and the city council. So I'm not going to be able to provide as many solutions as one would hope as the role as treasurer is. However, I will be the voice for those who want to speak to me about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben?
Thank you, Jan. I want to touch a little bit more on the housing assessment that you talked about, 2022. The one stat that really hit me from there was they said that only 4% of our population can afford to buy a home in our community. That seems pretty restrictive. People that were born in this community, people who have grown up in this community, they can't afford to live in this community anymore. We have to come up with creative solutions to be able to address that. How do we do that? That's a great question. I know that the council has worked on this, and the city has definitely taken steps forward. D Street Apartments is a perfect example. The South Arc redevelopment is also. But we still have to continue to drive forward on it. Now, whether that is go to home rule instead of statutory city, or I think we should figure out creative solutions around how to provide some relief to employers. You know, it's one thing to look to the city to create all this housing, but the city has limited dollars. And I think it's important that the workforce is supported by their employers. So the kind of the way I look at it is we can teach them how to fish instead of giving them fish. Now, it's going to take a lot of people, a lot of smart people bringing their brains together to figure this out. And as treasurer, my opponent has pointed out that we don't have a vote on council, but we do have influence. And we can bring creative solutions to bear. And that's one of the things I specialize in. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa, you're next.
Well, we've got to continue to have a multiplicity of approaches because it's such a big issue. You know, one thing that I'm hoping is that the voters vote down Proposition 300 or whatever it's called, something 300, because that is going to reduce the amount of money drastically that we're able to collect from short-term rentals. And it's going to really sabotage the match that we need to build some of the affordable housing, like the First and D Street project. With the South Arc neighborhood, we have voted for the plan that allows up to 400 units. We could have up to 50% of those be affordable if we can put in the infrastructure. So it just depends so much on grant funding, the ability to match. A lot of the homes that we've been able to put on the market are from the developers. They have built them as in a negotiated inclusionary housing where the percentage is adjusted annually. And so it's certainly not the short-term rental people who are fixing the affordable housing. They are being asked to help, though. Like Jane's Place, there's so many people involved in that. And I'm just looking at all the projects that are going on. We have to continue to fight to own the ground underneath. We've got to have deed restrictions because it doesn't do any good to have affordable housing that's affordable for 30 years and then it's off the table. And now it's just part of the gentrification in our community and that we're seeing nationwide. And so we look to other communities, what they're doing, what's working for them, what ideas can we borrow, build on, make better. We continue doing all those things. That's how we learn. You know, that's how we learn to walk. We watch our parents walk, and then we start doing it. So we learn from people who are really being successful and copy their ideas, you know, because housing is a nationwide problem. It is not unique to Salida, but it is very sad what Ben pointed out, how few people can stay.
Thanks, Alyssa. Aaron, thoughts on this?
Yeah, my thoughts are, 25 years ago when I moved here, downtown was boarded up. Like I say, some of the things that have been said here on this board are ring true. The town didn't have any money, and now we're kind of, we're starting to get that money coming in and starting to, figuring out what to do with it and how to, put it out there correctly and evenly and everybody gets what they need out of it. And so, and on that note, the short-term rentals, I think the taxes that has been thrown down on the owners of these short-term rentals, I think was outrageously crazy. We can't just throw everything on to, the locals that have lived here for long-term locals that have lived here for as long as they have to try and get us out of this crisis. So there is, room for new, and we need to find new ways to take that burden off of their shoulders, because it's just it's not really fair to just kind of throw that on them. So I think, going to the developers, the bigger contractors in town and give them subsidies to try and build these houses for a little bit cheaper and find ways to get these low-income houses out there, find the ground for it, and just reach out. And transparency, that's another thing that this board has been saying quite a bit about, is just knowing where the money is going and where it needs to go, and making sure that it goes to the right places and comes from the right places as well. So, I think there's room for we're going in the right direction, but I think there's room for growth.
Thanks, Aaron. Jackie, I think you're the one wrapping this question up for us tonight.
This is a big question. We can hear affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing. But I think we need to step back and say, okay, we've got affordable housing going. We have the Vanderveer property that we could put affordable housing on. But now let's look at the infrastructure. If we put affordable housing at First and D Street, what does that do to the infrastructure in downtown? We have no parking. Place for these people that are renting the places to park. We have no parking for people that are coming in that we're trying to get revenue from. So my thought would be to put a parking development at First and D Street. That would draw people to downtown. Build your infrastructure out at Vanderveer's. Entice people that you want to come in and work for you, housing out there. Because, like Alicia said, we have property out there that we can use. Okay? But before we think of all that, can we think of one other thing that we need to deal with? And that's the homeless. The people that are coming in and creating problems around the swimming pool, around downtown, around businesses. We need to be able to work and get that problem also solved, because people are not going to come in here and want to live if they know that when they wake up in the morning, it's not a bear in their backyard, it's a stranger.
Thanks, Jackie. All right, the next question is for the 4 candidates running for city council. Hold on, treasurers, you're going to get one next. I'm going to turn to the sore topic of short-term rentals, which a few of you have already raised. Not for the first time, this is on the city's ballot. And with workforce housing in short supply, as you have said, Salida voters approved the ballot question by a wide margin, allowing the city to charge short-term rental application and renewal fees and collect a city tax per night of occupancy. But after it passed, the city faced mounting criticism, not just from year-round residents, but from second homeowners, saying they didn't know, they never heard about it, they need the income, the fees are too high, how could they be attacked? Clearly, it's impossible to please everyone, as Alyssa, as a current city council person, well knows. So, I won't ask you what your position is about short-term rentals as we approach the new ballot question that will undo what voters approved, unless you want to give it. But we do want to know what else the Salida Council Mayor could have done or could do now to improve the public's understanding of the issue, why it was taken the way it was taken before, and how to ensure better communications with Salida residents. And Alyssa, let's start with you as the incumbent, and then we'll go down this way through the 4 candidates.
The reason that we set such an aggressive nightly fee is because we wanted to raise enough money to actually do something with it. And so we were expecting to raise about $800,000 with it. Several of us weren't really comfortable with the $15, but we bought into the other counselors' arguments that we needed a significant amount of money. Since then, we've talked about compromise. We talked about as late as last night. Some council members are willing to come down to $10. I'm willing to lift the cap off of residential as far as the nights that they can host someone, to take some of those restrictions off of them. But they don't pay property tax rate at the commercial rate. The motels do. That's 4 times what residential people are paying. So they have a huge benefit that they always just shove that under the rug. Let's don't talk about that. Let's just talk about I have to pay this $1,000. I think what they're paying now is a drop in the bucket to what they will pay if the state has its way and passes the measure to tax them at commercial rates. And they are businesses. They have commoditized their homes. That's the choice that they have made. And so we'll see what comes down with the state. No one wants to harm them. We just want them to be part of the solution.
Thank you. Aaron?
For the short-term rental, agreement here in Salida, I just think it, coming down on the, keeping it within the, you have to be here a long-term resident to be able to hold one of these short-term rentals. But I think that these people are using these to subsidize their incomes to be able to afford to live here as well, because the way things are changing and growing for the better and some for the worse, people need to do that to be able to find a way to make more money to live here. And if that's taking their personal space that they have and turn it into a place that they can rent out and make a little bit of extra income each month, that's great. As long as it stays within that cap of, you have to be a long-term resident to purchase that permit. But you said I don't agree with how high the tax fee is for each short-term rental. I think that it should be reassessed and maybe lowered a little bit, and then but we also need to know where those tax money is going. We need to be transparent with that to make sure that everybody knows, what it's going to. If it's going to quality of life, if it's going to, building pools, or is it going to, that's my main thing. Is transparency where that money is going. But I don't think it all should fall on those people that have lived here for the longest to bear those burdens alone anyway, which we need to figure out how to spread that out.
Thanks, Aaron. Jackie, do you have some thoughts on this?
I struggle with short-term rentals. I think that we need more long-term rentals to be able to entice folks to come into our community and work and stay in the community and help with some of the needs that we have as far as not having enough staff in different areas. With that being said, I think that the short-term rental needs to be reassessed. I understand the fact that, yes, they're being charged a certain fee, and then there's a charge for rooms and everything else. But look at our motel folks and people that have rentals in commercial areas. They're paying 4 times the tax that a resident person is paying. And yet that resident person that has a short-term rental is not pleased with their fee. So let's go back to the table and negotiate. Should it be a percentage of what that homeowner pays in taxes that their short-term rental fee should be? Does anybody really truly have an answer for that? That would be my question to the citizens and the short-term rental folks.
Thanks, Jackie. Adrian, you want to bring this home?
So kind of 2 parts with that. I feel in negotiation, what's been being talked about, finding a compromise what's going on would be a fantastic solution. I think keeping that, I think there's $1,000 per year fee, and then lowering the per night per room could potentially be a great compromise. I haven't talked to everybody on all sides of that. I know multiple people who are able to live here because they do rent out their home in the summer, and they might have, I know one family that has kids, they will go and camp. They will put their house on for a few days or a week or 2 at a time, and it's a great way to supplement their income during the summer, especially when they're not able to work as much when their kids are out of school. I know someone else who owns a home a block away from me, and she's a flight EMT. She rents out her home when she does her 72 hours, and it's a way to be able to supplement her income. So I think there are plenty of people that do use that short-term rental in positive ways to stay here and stay within this community, and it brings in those tourists. I think for one of your questions, though, you did ask about how information could be put out there. I think that's some great discussions that need to be had, because I know the city has a survey that they'll do. You have to get that email. You have to be able to sign up for it. I think a lot of people don't even know that's even an option. I think there needs to be some good discussions and some brainstorming ideas and some trials to see what are some ways we could get out there besides going and knocking on every door every time. How can we get information out there better? Because everyone does get their information in a multitude of ways. And there are plenty of people that are strongly affected by decisions made that didn't even know it was coming. So I think that's something that we do need to work on as a city.
Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate it. All right,
Dan,
it's the
can
treasurer's
I have
turn.
another go at this so I
Yeah.
can straighten out some misconceptions?
Okay.
62% of the short-term rentals are not in the community. There's no requirement that you have to be a long-term resident to qualify. And we can't do a percentage as a tax, as a statutory city. If we were home rule, we could, and that's what we wish we could do, because a percent would be so much more fair. It'd be based on how much you're bringing in, but that's off the table for statutory cities. Great idea. Wish we could do it. Wish we could do it. Thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up, Alyssa. That's great. So, treasurers, we have not forgotten you, and I'm going to start with Ben with this question because we haven't started down there on that end before. Well, in Salida, the city treasurer is an elected position. Salida residents can often be just a little bit fuzzy about exactly what the city treasurer does. Some people think the treasurer writes checks. Others think that the treasurer sets fiscal policy. Others just are confused. So talk about what you understand the role of treasurer to be and with whom you believe you would interact and why it should remain an elected position. And it's a 2-minute answer. And Ben, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Jen. Well, the treasurer's role is to provide oversight for the citizens, because the city is spending our tax dollars. And as I mentioned before, our city is quite large in its budget, $7.3 million, over 100 employees. So as treasurer, I think it's really important that we provide reasonable oversight. Additionally, we chair the city's finance committee. So we work closely with the director of finance, with additional staff. Normally, the finance committee is attended by multiple council members also. So I think that's really where the work happens, is in the finance committee. Additionally, as treasurer, you don't have a vote on council, but you can have influence. And, our current treasurer, Merrill, who's with us tonight, has done a wonderful job in really expanding the role and structuring the role. So whoever's going to go into the treasurer's role has very large shoes to fill, but he's kind of plowed the path forward. And once again, with my 30 years of experience working in complex organizations, also my degree in business, and having overseen budgets, managed groups of people, and I've also chaired committees when I was with nonprofits. So my skill set really aligns, and I believe that I can bring a lot of value to the role. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Wales?
Yeah. Thank you, Jan. So as I understand the role, I would be acting as the liaison between the Finance Committee and the City Council. So just making sure that communication is clear about what is going on with the budget, any of the changes that are being presented to City Council during City Council meetings, when different department heads are asking for something to change in the budget, making sure I can communicate that back to the Finance Committee. And also being a role as an accountability buddy, as I like to say. So working together to hold each other accountable. So I would be making sure that the Finance Committee is doing their auditing on time and making sure that all of their finances are aligned with as it should be. I'm also making sure and holding the City Council accountable for the promises that they make to our citizens. and different department heads. If I'm preparing for the city council meeting, I'll make sure that I'm reviewing the agenda for the evening, looking over any of the proposed issues that will be affecting any of the finances that come up. And was there more to the question besides just the role of the treasurer?
The role and the misconceptions that people may have, and how you'd see you fitting within that role.
Okay, so the misconceptions is that we have a vote on what happens with the budget. So as much as I would love to sit down and talk to everybody about what they believe our money should be going towards, I can voice that during the finance committee meetings. However, I don't have any room for a vote to say yes or no if that can go into the budget or not.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's turn to another one of the topics on the Ark Valley Voice survey, what people care about and what they're interested in, and that has to do with working families and childcare. Now, according to the survey, hand in hand with housing is the urgent need for quality, safe childcare resources. In fact, I've received communications from some people who wanted to take the survey who said this has to be the most important thing, because after, if you want to hold on to the house, you have to be able to work and you have to not worry about your children. We have talked to people who've said that they've taken their small children to work on construction sites because they didn't have childcare, put them in the back storage room in their retail store, gone to their custodian jobs in office buildings on our main street with their small children in tow. While many see this as a county problem, others say that municipalities have to participate with solutions because in this county, that's where the majority of people live. What ideas, if any, do you have to increase access to safe, affordable childcare for Salida's working family? This is a 1-minute question, and Aaron, I'd like to start with you, if I may, please.
Oh yeah, being the father of 2 young children, it is a battle every day, especially during the summers. When school's not in session. One of the biggest things that I think is the, like you say, the county takes a big role in childcare in our community, but I think the city of Salida also needs to to follow up with them and work side by side to create more choices for our families that are moving to this town or moved here and have children. Them reopening the county reopening the schoolhouse in Poncha is good news, because things like that shutting down can really be a detriment on our city.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. Jackie, you said you raised a couple generations here. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was very fortunate because I had some fantastic folks that had childcare in their home and did an outstanding job with our kids. I've seen that go away, and I'm not sure why. I would not want to be a childcare provider in my home. I understand that that's one of the hardest jobs that you could ever do. And I think that having an area where you can take a child and they can interact with other children is very important. So I'm pleased, like Aaron, that the Poncha schoolhouse is opened back up. And I don't know what the answer is for childcare. I don't like seeing little kids on work sites or sleeping in cars while their folks are doing janitorial services. But I would take any input that somebody's willing to give me and look at it.
Thanks, Jackie. Adrian, as the owner of Little Red Tricycle, what do you hear about this from families who will come in?
I hear quite a bit about it. So I'm also a parent. My oldest one's 21, and then I have 11 and 9-year-old boys. So I've been parenting for quite a while and have dealt with this childcare issue for many, many years. It's not a new issue of lack of childcare. This has been going on for a long time. I feel that we've got such a great community that we do have so many families in town. One of the hardest things, I think, often we think of childcare and we're thinking of toddlers or small kids, but infant care is one of the hardest ones that we have. There's very few slots in this county at all for infants, and some people just don't have that option to stay home with their infant or go to work with their small child. And so in-home care often is the solution, and I know a lot of that's been cut back on because of state regulations. So, and I know the state just made some new things for pre-K, and that helps out childcare a lot, but you have to have the workforce to do it. It's been hard for the state to get that going. So I think it's something we need to talk about with the county, the state, and just creative solutions for that.
Thanks. Wales?
Thank you, Jan. So I believe that, being formerly a YMCA director, that childcare is incredibly important in forming and shaping young children's lives. And that goes up until, like you were saying, this is any age, from infantry up until middle school and high school. Right now, we have the Boys and Girls Club, and they've been receiving a lot of recognition from the state for how good the program is going. And I believe that we could just put in more funding into them if possible. Again, I'm not sure if what our budget looks like, council member, but well, I do. But you know what I mean. We can explore putting more funding into them because we know and they have proven that they are a program worth putting money into. We also could look into putting in a new program such as the YMCA. That's another great organization that it does impact a lot of communities throughout the nation and has impacted me myself. So,
Thanks, Wales. Ben, let's swing back to your end of the podium.
Thank you, Jan. So I think one of the things that we could really work towards is 2 years ago, the state passed legislation that allows the lodging tax to be used for other services that are part of the impact from tourism. Previously, they could only use the lodging tax to promote tourism. So our county commissioners saw fit to open up those funds to sources like childcare. So I think we need to work with county commissioners to continue increase that percentage and then finance programs. The Boys and Girls Club was mentioned. I think that is a wonderful program. As we were able to help address the childcare need, we open up additional plays that can be used in our community. I think that's very critical. And lastly, I think we also have to focus on the seniors, as I've mentioned before. They're a huge part of our community. They've really contributed to it, and we really need to be looking out for them. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Alyssa?
We have set aside space on the South Ark neighborhood where we are inviting in a child care center. I'm hearing on the news that child care centers are folding up across the nation because the COVID money has dried up. So this is a huge problem nationwide. One of the major problems is the pay that workers get. When you get $12.50 an hour and you can go to McDonald's for $18, you know what most people are going to do? They're going to go to McDonald's and make burgers for $18. And so we have to make what was historically called women's work real work with real paychecks that you can live on. And when we can cross that hurdle, the child care issue will solve itself. Because we need the children to be protected, not made into little princesses and princes. That's what's happened to the community babysitting, because I used to take my little one over, and there was a ton of kids in there. And it was somebody's grandmother. Those days are over.
Thanks, Alyssa. Appreciate it. Let's turn our attention to something that is close to home but might feel far away to some of us, and that is the environment and climate change. Environmental and climate experts say that the Valley faces some significant challenges in the years ahead as we juggle the impacts of growth and tourism, as well as the threat of drought and wildfire and long-term environmental impacts, potentially with diminishing resources. Others say we're already dealing with the extreme weather of climate change, especially if this summer is any indication. Regarding those extreme weather issues, are they a current issue here, or do they represent future problems? Or are they just not real? Should the city of Salida be taking a more aggressive stance related to these issues? And if so, how should it respond to this future threat? And Wales, I think you're the only person who has not yet started a question, so we're going to start with you and go this direction.
Right. Thanks, Jan. So I do believe that any future problem is a current problem. If it's not going to be addressed now, we should not be leaving that for the future for them to figure it out. Regarding the wildfires, something that just came to my mind when you mentioned that is the fire station that is being built. And I'm really happy that the city has decided to focus on our first responders and providing them with structure that is going to be beneficial in the long run and also helpful in case there is another wildfire that comes to house those other firefighters that will be coming to our county to help out. Something that we have been doing and we could be doing more of is reduce of the use of plastic. So we know in the grocery stores now, you're having to pay money to use your plastic bags. You're being encouraged to bring your own reusable bags, and I would like to see things like that continue to happen. Thank you.
Thanks. Ben, let's swing down to your end.
Sure. Sustainability and preserving the environment are very important. It's very exciting that the county was able to get the DOLA grant to build the recycling center up by the landfill, and I think that'll help a lot. Now, but your question was around whether we should be dealing with it currently or in the future. We are facing a housing crisis in our community. We have a lot of people that are housing challenged, whether they're our workforce or our seniors, or as we've talked about, people that have grown up in this community. So when your house is on fire, you got to put the house out. And I think as important as sustainability is, we have to focus on the critical problems that we have today. So we need to continue to be creative in finding solutions to help out with workforce housing, in my opinion. Thank you.
All right, Alyssa?
We have a strong sustainability committee in the city of Salida, and I'm really proud of the work that they're doing. They're pushing for more modern codes for buildings. That's going to make the homes more sustainable. They're going to be able to be heated more affordably. So we're moving in the right direction on that. Water is what we all know is going to be the driver of wars. It's probably already started, and if it hasn't, it's going to. So we have a finite amount of water. I've asked a lot of people, what can we do about it when we're running out of water? And the only thing we can do is stop development, stop approving development at that point. We're going to get there. So that big gate that a lot of the community wants at the edge of town, maybe we'll get one eventually. And then the fire. Yes, we need a firehouse so all of our firefighters can be housed in one place so they can respond efficiently and safely, because it's very dangerous where they are now, and it's way too small.
Thanks.
Now is the answer.
Now.
Deal with it now.
All right. Thank you. Aaron?
Yeah, I agree with everything that our rep here is saying. I think there's a lot of good plans already put in motion between the city and the county to clean up our forests in case there is a wildfire spark up outside of town that could threaten our community. Cleaning up the forests and mitigating those forests to make sure that that when something like that does happen, that we are prepared for it, which also comes in with the new firehouse and making sure that our first responders and our EMTs and all those are prepared and have what they need for to deal with those situations when they do arise. Water is a big issue. The wastewater plan that's been put into act is a great start. I think we're going in the right direction, and we just need to keep going and finish what we started.
Thank you. Jackie, some thoughts on this?
Well, I think I have to agree with pretty much everybody that we need to work on it now, because we kind of fell behind the 8 ball when these ranchers were subdividing their properties and everything else and selling off their water rights to the Front Range. The city or the county did not step in and say, I want to buy it. And they probably didn't think about it. So yes, we need to work on stuff now, and water is the big thing. And as far as the fire station, the present council couldn't have made a better decision to go ahead and do that. You know, we talk about it for the firefighters and we talk about it for the EMTs, but I think we need to think about it, it's for our citizens. It's $266 in taxes per citizen with the population that we have. And we don't pay a dime for it. We are not taxed like districts are.
Thanks. Adrian?
I believe the environment's very important, and the changes are going on now, and government moves really slow unless we look at what we can do, what we are doing now, choices that are being made now that often aren't enacted for another year or two. Then you're already behind. We were already behind with the water rights. So I think looking at anything we do, thinking very future forward on that is a really important thing. And one thing that I've been doing for the past about 6 months, I read a fascinating article about a glass crusher that you just take glass bottles, turns it back into sand, and it can be used right in your community, whether that's sanding roads, septic, stream restoration. It's super easy to use, and I've been in the works with many different people, including Rotary. I've talked to people in the county, different people that are doing, are within those groups, to see if that's something that we could bring here that is actually very cost effective and environmentally sound.
Sounds interesting. Thank you, Adrian. Alyssa, you mentioned water and the concerns we all have over water. I just put the story up a little before 5 o'clock tonight. You may not know that the Colorado Water Conservation Board met here for 2 days. Just in the last couple of weeks, we had the state water engineers here. We had the directors of every single water basin in the state of Colorado here in Salida for a meeting at the steam plant. It was really interesting. So you might want to take a look at that. Quite impressive group of people. We've got one more question before we start going into some of the public questions that have come to us. We've gotten one already offline. But let's cover this question.
Can I solicit any?
And Jan, while he's doing that, I want to just throw out that Boys and Girls Club accepts kids 6 to 18. And so they do a lot of good for child care. But that's 0 to just under 6.
It's the 0 to under 6 that's causing the crisis right now. You are truly right. Yeah. And we'll hand out some more of those question pieces as well once we're past this question. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there. The country is based on 2 fundamental principles. As a democratic republic, that we have the right to vote to elect those who represent us and govern us, and we live by the rule of law. Across this country, we have seen not just the deterioration of civil behavior toward those who disagree with our own worldviews or those of others, but the denigration of our constitutional institutions even before January 6th, actual political violence. The topic of balancing public safety and the rule of law has come home lately because of an issue on the streets of downtown Salida, alarming residents, business owners, and tourists. As the Salida Police Department continues to claim First and Second Amendment protections for armed intimidation on F Street, they've also threatened residents and shop owners who report their alarm and ask why Colorado statutes aren't being enforced. In fact, more than one resident and business owner has reported directly to Ark Valley Voice that they have been threatened with being charged with false reporting. And several have reported that they just don't want to get sued, the Salida Police Department, that is. So many have asked us, where is this going? How many more people are going to show up? Is this getting us accustomed to seeing assault weapons on our streets and normalizing violence? And others just say this can't go on. Now, there have been similar situations that have arisen in other counties around the state of Colorado, where men armed with assault weapons appeared on a C-470 overpass. And an officer involved in what happened next told AVV, "We didn't know who they were. We didn't arrest them, but we went up and said, 'You guys are scaring people,' and took them down at gunpoint." It's the appropriate cop response. That's a direct quote. So as elected officials, the safety and security of your constituents is supposed to be top of mind. Arc Valley Voice knows that at least one of you has a connection with an armed individual who have joined the F Street intimidation. One could ask whose rights are being protected here. We want to know where you stand on this issue and what you would do to resolve the situation. And I think from a starting standpoint, I think Alyssa would be your turn.
Council has instructed staff to write an ordinance to ban weapons in public spaces, and I don't know yet what that looks like because that instruction was just given at the last meeting or the meeting before. And so it takes time for that to evolve. We understand that it's critical to protect the right to bear arms as stated in the Constitution. We also feel like that people deserve to feel safe in our downtown area. They're trying to shop, they're trying to enjoy themselves, have a meal, not be terrorized. If I want to be terrorized, I'll watch Alfred Hitchcock. Thank you very much.
I think Alfred Hitchcock, if he were alive, might like that response. Aaron, what are your thoughts on this?
I feel that everybody has the right, to feel safe in their community and be able to, reach out and ask for help when situations like these arise. And I think the Salida Police Department are doing what they feel that they can do to really cover their own, cover themselves as well, to not get themselves in trouble due to the laws that they have to abide by as well to keep people feeling that they're, living in a free country.
Thanks. Jackie, your thoughts on this?
I have to say that I don't have a problem with them standing down on the corner with their guns. What I have a problem with is the people that are afraid that they might do something. And they look at the gun. They don't look at the individual. What about the guy with the machete on his backpack that we don't even have any idea where he came from or what he's doing? Or the person with the violent dog that barks at everybody? I'm more concerned about a barking dog than I am somebody with an unloaded gun. And they are exercising their Second Amendment rights. But we as citizens, we allow a lot of other things to go on in the city limits that offend people, that make people scared. And so I think we need to look at the whole picture here. And my other thought on this is the more people talk about it and nag about it, the longer they're going to stand there. They're not doing anything wrong. They were up on Highway 50 for 18 months. And if something truly, truly went wrong in Salida, would the guy with the barking dog come help you? The guy with the machete come help you? Or would it be the guy that's standing there with the flag and the empty gun? And that's what I have to say about it.
Adrian?
So we've had an interaction with him. I don't know if anyone read the letter to the editor in the Mountain Mail, but our boys were doing a lemonade stand, and their friend was selling some rocks doing downtown. They came down on a Sunday, set up, had some great sales. My husband actually went to go buy some more lemonade, and by the time he got back, that man had set up right in front of my boys, within feet from them, and just said, "This is where I stand." I felt in some ways it was more rude, the fact that there was already somebody there. He could go somewhere else. He could go back to Highway 50. it's a complicated situation because he has the right to do what he's doing, but he has the obligation not to because he's scaring people. People have had terrible, scary interactions with the gun, and I don't know what he's trying to do. Is he just trying to get attention? Is he just, if he's showing his rights, what's his end goal? How long is he going to do it for? I am fully for the idea of doing an ordinance in town because I think it would be great to have a safe zone. We already have that around schools. I think that would just extend that because it would balance out with the ideas that, sure, there's Second Amendment rights. We've got a lot of people that are very responsible with guns in the area, but what he's doing doesn't make me feel comfortable. It doesn't make my kids feel comfortable. It was hard to ask him to move because he has a gun. He clearly has an intimidation over us. So I think finding solutions that are legal solutions that are not offensive to people is what we need to do. And so I think doing those ordinances in town would be a good balance for that.
Thanks, Adrian. Wales, have any thoughts on this?
I do. I really just kind of want to talk a little bit more about something that Jackie and Adrian both said. So first, Adrian brought up how, like, why is he doing this? Like, what is going on here? I think it'd be important for somebody to take the time to sit down and talk to him about it. There's a reason why he is choosing to have a gun as a form of intimidation to the public. Why is he doing it? I think that would be the first step in the solution. And second, I agree with Jackie. If we just stop giving him attention, maybe he'll just go away. And that's all I want to say about it.
Thank you. Ben, I think you're the last of the commenters on this
I
question.
think so, Jan. Thank you. As everyone's mentioned, it is a complex situation, and there are constitutional rights being looked at here. I support our law enforcement in this community, and obviously council is looking for some solutions. What I would say, because the treasurer represents all citizens, I would listen to anybody that wanted to come and talk to me and would represent them equally in any of my dealings as treasurer. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. Ark Valley Voice, as many of you know, has written about this quite a bit. Not once ever have we quoted him because it is not our role to platform him.
Jan.
Yes.
It's Jackie.
Oh, sorry, Jackie.
Okay. I want to add one other thing to this. And I don't know how many of you have seen the Pillow Chieftain, but the officer that was run over as they were trying to do their job, and she was killed. And she was run over. I mean, this person was targeting her with a car. And this young lady, I know. My son worked with her at the Pueblo jail. So how are we going to keep those people away from our safe zones too? And I would be more than happy to sit down and talk with this man and find out what his end game is, because I want to know.
Thank you, Jackie. Let's take a few questions if there's anyone else who needs a card to write a question down that is in the room, in the audience here, raise your hand so we can get cards to you. Does anybody need any? No? Okay. Well, here's the first question that came in. They didn't say who, so I would imagine it would be all of you, worth 1 minute. As citizens of Salida, what is your favorite aspect of our community and what made you want to run for office? And let me see. Jackie, let's start with you. 1 minute, yes.
Okay. I don't know if I have one favorite aspect of Salida. I've enjoyed the entertainment in the park. I've enjoyed the parades downtown. I've enjoyed the merchants that have their businesses and stuff here. And so the reason that I'm running is because I want everybody to be equally heard. We hear a lot from different organizations and that type of stuff. But I want to go back and reiterate what Ben has said, and he said it several times at this meeting, and that is, what about the elderly? Let's get them some help and look at their needs also.
Thanks. Adrian, we're going to go this direction. Yeah, toward you.
I love so much about this community. This town is fantastic. Living and having a shop right down in it, I feel really engaged with a lot that's going on. Having kids in town, I feel really engaged. Having employees that are teenagers makes me feel engaged with their world. And I hope this isn't hurtful at anybody Rotary, but it's a bit of an older crowd, and I love getting their perspective on what's going on, and finding out. And what a lot of them are retired, and seeing what they're doing and their interests and travels and being engaged. And I think, our city definitely needs different representation. I think that knowing lots of different groups of people, not having one small clique, but knowing a wide variety of people is important. I think being involved in the arts, I have a disability, and it makes me look at the world in a different way, and that gives for a different perspective going on. So I think that would be, it's one of the reasons I'm running for council, is just to have a different viewpoint on council.
That's great. Thanks. Wales, how about you?
So what brought me to Salida, I think my favorite aspect is just the recreation that can be done here. Between the mountains that we have for hiking, mountain biking, trail running, we have a ski resort right for the winter, and we also, of course, have the Arkansas running through the town. I think that what brings in most of our tourism here, so how could it not also bring me in here as well? And I also really love the community, the small community aspect that we have. I was living in Denver for several years, found it really hard to find myself really fitting into the community, and didn't feel like I could really impact it because it was such a large area to impact. Here in Salida, that's why I want to be running, is so I can have an impact on the decisions that are made here in the city government. Again, I know the treasurer cannot make big decisions, but this is me trying to really get involved in the community, really hoping to represent the workforce. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Back over to Ben.
Thank you, Jen. We talk about the heart of Salida, and that's one of the great things about this community. This community has a wonderful arts culture with our creative arts district, the live music that we have, the lists in the summers are 2 pages long of all the concerts that are being offered. And one of the things that really touched my heart were the signs, the yard signs, that the parent of a Salida Spartan or a grandparent of a Salida Spartan, that's, really speaks to the closeness of this community. I had an opportunity to meet Forrest and speak with him a little bit over the years, and obviously we lost him last week, and there's a memorial coming up this weekend for him. Those are the people in this community that we need to be looking out for, and just to continue that hometown feel, I think, is really what made it special for me. Thank you.
Great. Alyssa?
The total surround of the mountains is what really drew me here. When I tried to leave and it was flat land, I just kept dreaming about the mountains until I got back. So it's the beauty, it's the passion of the people, how passionate people are about things. That's why we have a hot music scene, a hot art scene, and so many things going on, because people are so passionate and they just bring so much life to the community. I've been very privileged to work at a lot of different things in Salida, having been here since the 70s. From working at the newspaper all through the 80s and typesetting the book 100 Years in the Heart of the Rockies, the history of this place is amazing. Worked in self-publishing, now work at the Area Agency on Aging. I worked at Boys and Girls Club for a long time, so I like to say from young to old. And we provide a lot of services to people 60 and older. So let people know.
Thank you. Aaron?
It's everything about this place. I moved here 25 years ago, became a river guide with my first job, worked at Monarch ski and snowboard area for 5-6 years, made my way through the tourist tourist industry. Then I moved on to, Angel Chaffee Recycling. When they were first starting up, I was right there with them, and my first employees. Kind of saw the trail that took and what it took to maintain recycling in this county, and just seeing where where the town was when I first moved here to where it is now is pretty amazing. The people in the town, our friends, raising my children here, is just, they're all great things to me, and I think that putting myself out there and getting to know the inner workings of the city and putting in my 2 cents where needed is something that I'm pretty dedicated to and passionate about.
That's great, thanks. Jackie, I think you're the last person, or did you,
I started.
You started it, okay. All right,
But I
the
can
next.
add some more if you'd like.
Thank you. This question is for city council candidates. This is a question about thoughts on the future of the Scout Hut, which has had its share of fast-running waters and scary depths and all sorts of things going on with it. Let us start over, yes, 1 minute, and with Adrian on this end.
Did you say the Scout Hut wave?
The Scout Wave. The Scout Wave, sorry.
I feel that's a very interesting one. That one's been really hard. We're a rafting family. It's something that we're able to do. We really like going through town, and we hadn't been able to do that this year. We had one of our kids' friends late in summer when the water was way down. They were boogie boarding, and that kid wasn't a strong swimmer, and he got really scared because he thought that wave meant certain death. I don't think there was enough transparency when it got put in. There was a lot of money that was put in through Parks and Recs, which is hard for me because I know people for years have been asking for the soaking pools and been told that we didn't have the funds for it. And then that got put in without people knowing it was happening. And it changed the river, and it will change the river forever. And so I think we can't go back now. It's there, but I think more transparency needs to happen about what's happening with it, what people need to do, and looking back and reflecting on that decision being made in the future so that that doesn't happen again.
Good, thanks. Jackie, any thoughts on this?
I was at the council meeting when the father came to council and expressed his concern about his son fearing this wave. I was a little surprised whenever I realized it was put in there and wasn't really advertised as a big show thing like we do our bands and Fib Arc and everything else. I think it needs to be reevaluated, and not because we have spent a lot of money on it. I think it can be salvaged, but I think it needs to be reevaluated and some more consideration with education.
Thank you. Aaron, thoughts on this?
Yeah, my thoughts are, seemed like it was a very rushed through process. I don't think there was the correct amount of time and steps weren't put into it to really, tell us what it was going to do at certain levels of water. And, it was, of course, they had the best intentions when it went in to do what it is doing now. It's great. Now it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. But when it was at a certain water level, it was just supposed to go away. It didn't turn into that. It turned into a very dangerous, munchy kind of hole. And I think transparency from here on out, knowing what's going to be going on with it, figuring it out, tweaking little things here and there to make it do what it was supposed to do, is what needs to happen. But everybody needs to know what's going on with it and when it's going to be safe and able to do what it's supposed to do. Sorry.
Thanks, Aaron. Alyssa, I put you last on this one to see if there's something you want to say about it as a current council person. person.
You know, I'm always entertained by, there was no talk about this, and it was all of a sudden just sprang on us, and no one knew what was happening. Because to me, we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And we've talked with the designer who's planning to do a considerable redo, where there's going to be more space created around both sides of the wave so that people will be able to go around it. And that, I think, is the best solution, because if you're going to be on the cutting edge, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to go a little bit too far with things, and that's what happened here. Now, for the world-class boaters, they are in heaven. For the casual boaters, they need to be able to go around it. So that's how we solve for both things, and the work will begin when the water is low enough. And people will like it a lot better this go-round. Bear with us.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Thank you. This question, I guess, is for everybody, and it might not even be a 1-minute question. Because it's framed as a yes and no, but I might add a little to it. It says, does the new fire station really need the expense of an electric charging station when we may never get an electric fire truck? That's a yes or no, but I'm sure there's a why. Ben, let's start with you on this end and see what you think about that.
Well, thank you, Jan. You know, I think the important part about the new fire station is, you know, we didn't have a decontamination area in the existing fire station. It was also very restrictive in the fact that we had to special order fire trucks to actually fit in parts of that station. Additionally, there was no training facilities for the department. And, you know, I think council, obviously with the sustainability programs that they have in place, they made choices with regards to the firehouse and what features it should have. So, and as far as I'm concerned, that ship sailed at this point, and I really have no influence on it. And, you know, the project's going to continue to move forward. Maybe council can edit it if they choose to.
Thanks. Wales, we'll come down to this end and go back up the other way. Yeah.
So from my understanding is that there hasn't been anything extra added to the fire station that isn't really necessary. The whole electrical charging stations, I'm not sure if those are included in the fire station that is being built. From what I've been explained, I don't believe it's in there. I don't know if Councilmember Pappenfort.
I'm not down to that level of detail with
Yeah.
it.
But I do want to echo Ben in that the decision already has been made and that the fire station is going to be built and that's going to be passed. So I would consider this question to potentially be a little irrelevant.
Okay. Anyone else want to make any comments on it? Adrian?
From what I understand, I think they took that out along with the geothermal. From a meeting that I heard, that they chose not to build that in to the idea, and that I think one of the things that's being asked within that question is the money being spent. And from what I understand about how this type of loan works, the money's there, but there are ways, I think there's some grant funding that I remember hearing about potentially to be looked at for the fire station, and other ways. I think there's time before that's finished being built, that we could look at ways for funding, and then that money will also, I think, have interest because we'll get the lump sum of money. I don't know if you know some of this detail of it.
We do get the lump sum.
We get the
of
lump
it.
sum, and then we earn interest on that while it's sitting there. And hopefully maybe we'll find some ways to cut some costs or do some fundraising that it all doesn't need to be spent, and then we don't have that. Then we can repay the rest of that loan. It's from what I'm understanding about that.
Aaron, you're looking quizzical.
Is it my turn to?
I thought it was my turn.
Well, it's
I thought we were
Jackie's
back.
turn, actually, going back up, but you looked very quizzical.
Yeah. Just thinking
Jackie?
on it. Yeah, sure.
Now, I just need some clarification. Are you talking about the charging stations like we have down at the park? Is that what we're talking about?
It doesn't say. It says the new fire station, does it really need the expense of an electric charging station when we may never get an electric fire truck?
Okay,
So it ties it to a truck.
Okay, so I'm going to speak on this matter because I have asked and seen some of the drawings and stuff. If they're talking about electric stations to charge an electric fire truck, they're not getting an electric fire truck. They are using infrared to heat the bays to keep the water and the trucks warm. My understanding is the electric charging station, as they start building the structure and they need to do the underground piping or wiring or whatever for that, on the outside of the fire station so they can have a charging station for cars that come into the area, is going to be on the outside of the fire station, not an electric charging station on the inside of the fire station. That's my understanding.
Okay, we might have to, as Ark Valley Voice, kind of poke at that a little bit and find out.
I'll go
what
talk to Doug
actually-
Best. He'll show you the pictures and everything. He's awesome.
Good deal. Aaron?
Best. I guess it just, yeah, like you say, it needs to be kind of dug into a little bit more. If there is an option down the line, if Salida gets a electric fire truck, are we gonna look back at the day we built this multi-million-dollar facility and say, oh, wish we would have put that in? Is it going to be more expensive to put it in later? Or are we going to put it in now and just it's going to be there just in case the electric fire truck comes around and for the options? Because I think there just needs to be some more research done to see if that's an actual possibility for electric fire truck. Because if it is going to happen, I'd say put it in now while the building's being built, so we don't have to come back in later, tear things out and redo it. I don't know what it would cost or what the process would be to put it in after the fact, but I guess it all comes down to poking around and seeing what is actually going to.
Seems like it might cost more to go back in later, but
That's what I was.
who
thinking,
knows?
Yeah.
We'll try and find out. Alyssa, any?
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Ben said because it's so important. There's going to be a decontamination room, and that has been something we have needed for a long time. The firefighters are out there being covered with carcinogens, then they're going into the living space. They cannot properly decontaminate without a decontamination room. Additionally, they need training space. That space outside can also be used for wildland fighters. But now I want to get to the exciting part. I got a fascinating lecture from a citizen that I really appreciated and enjoyed. He said, we are missing an opportunity with electric chargers. We need to be charging for those. He's paying 54 cents per kilowatt or whatever in Buena Vista, and we need to be charging for that too. So if there is one in the design, maybe we need to turn it into a moneymaker the way this gentleman explained to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that leads right into another question about affordable housing, folks. There's a lot of talk about adding affordable housing, but what are you going to do about the residents that make more than cutoffs for affordable housing but can't buy a house on their own? I think what they mean is they're talking about the sort of limits for the size of your household and the amount of the income you make, which is the kind of thing that the Chaffee Housing Trust helps use. The whole overall goal in trying to get people in houses is that they spend no more than 30% of their income, their take-home income on housing. So this is asking, I guess, the council candidates, what would you do about that? And this is, it sounds like it's being asked about a Salida-specific situation, although this is a question that's come up across the county as well. Alyssa, do you want to start?
Yeah, council has already diversified that, the AMI, the percent of AMI. When we started, we were really focusing on 80 and 100% of AMI, average median income. And then we're like, but there's a lot more people who need housing. So we've got them at 120, 140, 180. And so we're spreading that out. The LIHTC project, that's more like 30% AMI. So we are all over the AMIs. We get that. We also learned from a citizen the other day that they had their deal all set up, but then the FDA just charged them their $5,000 payment that they could not get back because FDA would not honor the deed restriction. And so there's some funky stuff going on out there with some lenders. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mae, they're on the right track. Go to them for your money.
Okay, thank you. Aaron, let's go down this way with comments about that question.
I guess on my part, I'm not really up to speed on all the I guess where it comes from me is I guess this is a question of fairness. Is that what it comes down to? Is that what I'm kind of hearing? Is people that come here now and afford to buy an affordable income living space, and people that have been here for longer? Is that?
No, it's actually related to how many people are in your household and what your take-home pay is, and it's a graduated scale. AMI is average median income, and that's what Alyssa was referring to. So what they do is I think initially we were looking at 80% or 100% average median income for the area, but now a lot of the workforce housing that is getting proposed, people they're looking at what, Alyssa, 160 or 180?
140, 180.
180 average median income. Yeah, it's going up that high, across the county. And the thing is trying to get people into homes and to keep their housing and their mortgage payments within no more than 30%.
And
of income.
utilities are included
And
in
utilities.
that 30% too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of I found myself kind of a loss of an answer to this question. I kind of need to do a little.
Well,
more.
the question kind of goes in a circle, so
Yeah.
yeah, it does. Anyone else want to comment? Jackie, thoughts on it?
Well, I agree with Alicia. There needs to be some more research done. It seems like the AMIs kind of bounce all over the place, and I'm not sure if that's because of the federal interests moving all over the place. I'm not sure. I'd like to do a little bit more research on it and come back with a better answer.
Okay. All right. Adrian, want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's always hard when you fall right outside of whatever that one is, and it does move around, and there are different charts, and and like you said, sometimes they accept this, they don't accept that. I think just trying to be creative and really trying to talk with as many people as you can to find solutions. You were able to find a housing solution. It meant that you had to wait, you had to stick with the program. 7+ years ago, I did real estate, and I used to teach first-time homebuyers classes, which would give you a down payment assistance. And in fact, I just talked to somebody last night that is here. She works at the schools, and they just bought a house, and part of the way that they did that was through that homebuyers class program to learn. So I think it's hard when you fall just out of that, and they are always moving targets, but I think we as a community can help each other out by offering and teaching each other what those programs are.
Thank you. That's great. I've got a question for the two treasurer candidates, and it's about managing large and long-term financing. The city has several infrastructure projects that are quite large in various stages of recommendation and approval. Thinking of the firehouse and the aquatic center. There are several requests that have come in. What do you two see as the role of the treasurer in decisions regarding these projects? I know you don't vote, but in keeping these projects in perspective relative to the rest of the city budget, when discussions are going on, should the treasurer be in the room? Ben, would you start with this one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the treasurer's job is to provide oversight. And so, once I get into the role, I will dive into the financing around the fire station and try to understand that in a more in depth. These are the things that are discussed during the finance committee. And you mentioned the aquatic center. I think most of the aquatic center things that are proposed are actually in the budget. I don't know that there's any financing associated with the soaking pools or some of the other infrastructure upgrades that Diesel has proposed. And obviously there's a lot of interest in the community to make sure that we either build a multi-use pool in addition to the soaking pools, or we make sure that there's room available to do that in the future, because we're currently oversubscribed at the pool, and that was very evident in last night's working session and council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Wales?
So when I become treasurer, I'll make sure that I am advising the council and the finance committee on the budget and making sure that we're not going to be going over what we can be spending. When it comes to the aquatic center, I think first steps will be looking in to see the market analysis that has been requested of. Also looking to see how much revenue we can anticipate. If we're wanting to, and we are continuing with this fire station, it has been recommended that we look for other ways to receive revenue. The pool could be one of those options. It also needs to, we just need to make sure we have the facts before we promise such a big project such as that.
Thank you very much. So we have a question because candidates, city council candidates, have mentioned approaches to city issues that are not allowed in a statutory city. So, city council candidates, what do candidates think are advantages to changing to home rule? And let me see, I think, Aaron, I haven't started with you in a while.
So, can I say the question one more time for me?
Some candidates have mentioned approaches to city issues that are not allowed in a statutory city, which Salida is. So what do candidates think are advantages to changing to a home rule system of government?
I guess would be being capable of reaching out to more, being involved in more decisions being made in our community, and not being limited to just, you know, just being limited, I guess, to just what we're not, you know, really knowing. I don't know, kind of reaching out and just being able to, I guess, just reach out a little bit further and put our 2 cents in on things that we normally wouldn't be able to.
Thanks, Aaron. Jackie, thoughts on this?
I think with a home rule, you'd need a lot more meetings. Your council would have to be much more present than what they are at councils now. And in saying that, I think there were 4 council members present when we voted on the firehouse. And I'm not sure, I think more research needs to be done about home rule. You know, they're concerned about lawsuit with the Rural 300 that they put on the ballot. What kind of liability do we have with home rule? Because it's one group's decision, and if they don't get voted in the next term, then somebody else is going to come in and change it. I would like a little bit more information about home rule versus where we're at today.
Reasonable. I'll note that as one we will follow up on a little bit more too. Adrian, thoughts on this?
I mean, I kind of reflect some of that sentiment. I've heard a lot of pros and cons for going to home rule or staying statutory, and the benefits would be things like the short-term rental, that we could make our own decisions and not have to follow state rules about whether you live in the city or not, and some of those things. But there's flip sides to it, as Jackie was saying. So I think that's something that I can't give a decision comment on without, I think a lot more research needs to go into it, because it's a really big decision being made, and I know the town voted that down once before. So I think it's just something that would need to be researched and looked into a lot more.
Thank you. It is a big decision. Alyssa, can you bring this one home?
You know, it certainly would take a huge education campaign, and because it was voted down, I'm not prepared for this question at all. But what we're restricted to is what the state was able to anticipate. So that's all the power that we have, what the state anticipated that we need. So that stops you from having good local solutions, like the percentage tax rate on short-term rentals rather than a flat fee. We could totally do that if we were home rule. You know, we'd have to look at the pros and cons, but most communities in Colorado are home rule. So we're kind of, you know, the knuckle draggers.
That is a fact. We're the outlier.
Yeah.
right now. Okay. We're down to the very last question of the evening. There's been an alarming rise of not just political violence, but political disinformation, and we're headed toward our November 7th election 2023, and we've got 2024 ahead of us. The definition of political violence is not what you might think. This is what it is. Anything that controls or changes who benefits from and participates in political, economic, and socio-cultural life. It's about who feels safe to participate. Political violence is aimed at political ends, and it includes threats, intimidation, and harassment. I say that for the benefit not just of the candidates, but for the whole audience here tonight. We all need to keep that in mind. The purpose of doing this kind of a forum is to have good civil debate and be civil with each other and answer questions and agree that sometimes we don't agree, but that we can talk with each other. Ark Valley Voice would like each candidate, 1 minute answer, to answer these questions. Where has your campaign funding come from? Is there any instances in our constitutional form of government in which you believe political violence is warranted? If so, what is it? And most importantly, will you accept the results of this election? And let me see. Alyssa, I'll start with you, and we'll go this direction.
Well, certainly I will accept the results of the election. And, you know, I'm not really sure where, you know, what you're looking for here. You know, I think that one of the issues that goes on is that we have the same values around the world. And in different communities, we prioritize those differently. And because of that, people get upset because, you know, whatever I think is most important, you should think is most important. And that's not how it works in reality. Whatever my current problem is my biggest issue, and our job for the city is to do the most good for the most people and annoy the fewest people that we can in the process. That's the job. And so we do need to protect our public servants so that they will work for us, because we all want to drive on streets while complaining about how we despise the government. You know, it doesn't really work that way. The government is us. We are the government. We make the government.
Thanks, Alyssa. Aaron, we'll go to you next.
So the first question was where the financing comes from the campaigning. So far, it's just been straight, you know, personal. It's paid for by Aaron Stevens for City of Salida. Second question is, no, I don't believe that there's any government or any reason that violence should ever be, you know, should be accepted in any form. Anywhere you're going, you know, you don't want to go anywhere, you know, in fear of your life or anything like that. That's just not the way to live and work and thrive. What was the third?
Will you accept the results of the election?
Oh, yes, I will accept the results of the election.
Thank you. Jackie?
Well, I will definitely accept the results of the election. And my campaign is being paid for by myself. And I've had numerous people come to me and say, let me donate, let me donate, let me donate. And this is what I tell them. If I don't have the funds or the time to support you, then why would I take your money and you not get the results that you need? People are having a hard enough time paying their taxes, buying groceries, getting gas, to go to doctor's appointments and everything else. I want to serve them. I don't want them to serve me with the little bit that they have.
Adrian?
The simple ones first. I'm self-funded, and yes, I'll go with the results. I think the bigger thing is everyone has a different amount of engagement that they want to put into their government, into politics. Or are those of us that are here and we engage a little bit more. There are plenty of people in town that they don't want to engage. They just hope that we do the right thing. And there's a lot of people that will talk your ear off and be at every single one of these meetings. So it's all different. What it comes down to of any of those people are they want to be heard when something is important to them. They want to have people that are within their city, within any government, that will, when something's important, they will be heard and not just listened to, but actually heard and then taken that for consequence of what does that mean if one person says it, many other people are probably thinking the same thing. How can we synthesize that into what we're doing? And I hope to be a voice to make that happen.
Thank you, Adrian. Wales?
So to answer your first question about funding, I am personally funding myself as well. And as a member of the workforce, that means that I am having to budget my own personal finances to do so. And it's so important to me that I'm doing that it's okay. To answer your question about political violence, no, I don't believe there's anywhere ever that we should have political violence and be able to stand for it. And to answer your question about accepting the results, yes, I will gladly accept the results. I would be happy to see Ben in the chair if it's not me. And I will just take this as a learning lesson. This is not the end of me. I will continue to be on boards. I will be running for city council or something next. Just excited to be a part of the community and hoping to represent those who are not represented in the workforce. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ben, last but not least.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, I'm standing between everybody exiting the room. I'm self-funded. I think it's very important in our country, and what makes it great is freedom of speech and that we can have discord. But no, political violence has no place in our democracy, in my opinion. And one of the great things that council does is the civility invocation before each meeting. And I think it's a principle that our city is based on, and one, of course, that I will adopt once I'm treasurer. And accepting the results, yes. I mean, I'm always good about voicing my, voting with my the ballot, and that's how I voice my opinion. Now, do all my candidates get into office? No. Do I accept the people that are there? Yes. That's the way our democracy works.
Thanks, Ben. And we want to thank our co-sponsor for this forum, the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County, for being co-sponsors of this event, and our parent, the Truth is a Voice Foundation, for coming alongside Ark Valley Voice to put this on. We thank the City of Salida for allowing us to hold the forum in City Council chambers and providing the technical support. We thank our audience here and online in the chamber on YouTube and Zoom, because at this point in time, democracy needs us to be involved and to understand the issues, and most of all, to vote. And mostly tonight, I want to thank you candidates for your willingness to participate in tonight's forum, for your willingness to serve this community, for showing up, for speaking and giving us the benefit of your thoughts. Democracy requires the involvement of our citizens in service to the community and the rule of law, and you are showing us that willingness tonight. Thank you so much. And good night, everybody.
Good night.